What's up, people? Can you see us? Can you hear us out there in the worldwide interwebs? I'm here with Yvette Young.
Hi.
Great to see you.
Great to hang out with you.
I'm like a new super fan because I listened to your. Well, I've heard lots of your guitar playing before, but I listened to the new record yesterday, and now I'm like all in. That's just a beautiful
Yeah.
record you guys put out yesterday.
Thank you. We upgraded.
It's amazing. It's really great. I mean, the songs, the tones, everything. So I'm just really excited to have you here and talk and find out all about this album you guys made.
Thank you. It feels good to have it out because we've been sitting on it for quite some time. Well, I mean, not that long, but definitely some of these songs have been in our live circuit for a bit, and it just feels like a relief to have them recorded.
Amazing. Yeah. For those that don't know, it's Covet Band, right?
Yeah.
For you guys. And just an incredible piece of work. It's awesome. It's a 3-piece band, right?
Yep. Guitar, bass, drums, and then some backing stuff that I play in the record, but we can't do it live. So.
And I was going to ask you, get into that a little bit about like how you tackle some of that stuff, because there's some layers. Some of it sounds like definitely like, yeah, I could see this, as a trio live for sure. Would be like, it almost sounds like you guys structure your songs to be played live. Is that true? Like kind of like maybe not too many layers.
Yeah, my whole thing is I just like want to make it easy for myself to replicate live.
Okay.
So like in the recording process, I only use my live board as pedals, and I tried to get creative with how to get different tonal variation. And I also try to make it as I know the music itself is quite intricate and complicated, but I don't want to like slam too many layers on there because, we have shows where all of our equipment doesn't work anymore. Like we have so my drummer triggers all the backing things. It's like connected to his click which only he hears in his ear.
Okay.
And then David, my bass player, and I don't have a click. We just follow the drummer. So
Nice.
kind of, the whole song kind of depends on him staying on the click. And then all the backing stuff is also triggered by the drummer too. But sometimes we have shows where it just doesn't work because we didn't get a sound check or something, or just ghost in the machine, so for me, it's important that we can still play a set with none of our frills working. Like
cool.
I call them like garage sets because it's like how we'd sound if we were just jamming in someone's garage.
That's cool though. I mean that you think of it that way, where it's like, yeah, this stuff can be there and that'll be great and perfect, but if not, it's going to be fine too.
Yeah, I mean, I've had sets where just like, because like, everyone starts out playing kind of more janky like DIY venues, and I've had venues where I had powering issue or just like something freaky is going on. I don't have time to troubleshoot, so I've even had to go just forego the board entirely and just go in my amp direct.
Oh, really?
No compression. I've had like 2 shows where I had to do that.
Wow.
And like, of course, it's not as lush and cool and dreamy of an experience, but there's still songs and we can still play them just completely dry.
That's awesome.
So,
in some ways, I find those are like afterwards, in retrospect, you think, God, that was like challenging and really fun and like completely worth it. Like it almost made the show better. You know what I mean?
Yeah. People are like, it's kind of cool. You kind of look like a G because you don't need anything. Like you just have a guitar, direct an amp, and that's it. And you're not phased either. Like you're still getting through with a smile.
Yeah, I remember one time in playing with Chris Cornell, and I think we're in Salt Lake City. I think, and the whole PA went out. Everything went out. Lights, the emergency lights came on in the venue, so all the power dropped for the whole venue. So we're in mid song, and then the emergency lights come on, and all of a sudden, all you can hear is like the drums off the stage, and there's like that 3 seconds of like, what do you do? And Cornell turns around and looks at the drums and goes, "Drum solo," because you can still hear the drums, the only acoustic instrument left. And it was great. And the power came on after like 10 minutes, but I think Sutter just played like a super long drum solo, and we all just kind of cheered him on stage. Just did what we could. And that's the show those people are going to remember, I feel like. Like, remember this one time.
That's the beauty about live, is like recovery from stuff like that. Just trying to be unfazed by, something going on. And then it's cool because like, I think there's something nice about realizing that everyone's human and these things happen. and it's okay. The show goes
That's
on.
right. That's right. There's something about seeing people on stage and it's like, oh wow, they're up there and I'm down here or whatever. But then when they screw up or something goes wrong, and then they just laugh it off, and then it's like, oh, they're a human being. Brings it down to it brings it down to that level and makes it special. I don't know. It's cool. Somebody's up there in the super chat up top, and they say the new record is sick, and I agree. Like Rob's School of Music. Isn't it great? I put it on yesterday morning, and right from the beginning. Well, I'm so like, there's so many questions I could ask you, and I wrote them down because I knew I'd just be like all over the map otherwise. But right from the beginning, it just is so gorgeous. Like the way it starts with the beautiful. It sounds like what you were improvising over top of.
Oh yeah, that one was me like it started out as me just looping some harmonics because I wanted to just see. I wanted to like have like a kind of airy, chimey bed, so I like just put some harmonics in a looper, and then I just wrote that over it for fun one day, and then there's like a clip of that song, not like that whole song, but like just a part of it that I put on YouTube, just me looping with myself, and then that ended up just becoming a full song, which is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a brilliant way to like, feels like a nice welcome to the album, like way to start the whole thing. It's gorgeous.
I want to say hi Rob's School of Music. I just did a live stream with them a few weeks ago, and it was really fun.
That's right. And he asked me if if I would be interested in doing one with him, and I'm totally down, Rob.
You should totally do it.
So I was gonna ask you about, like, we were talking. Sorry, I have something stuck in my granola. On a song like Atreyu, how do you approach playing the ambient stuff behind the main guitar part? So we were talking a little bit earlier about how you would approach doing stuff like that live. There's all that beautiful ambient stuff going on behind the main clean guitar part?
So how the band songwriting works is I come up with the big old melodic skeleton. So like I'm here with the riffs, and I like basically show up to band practice with about maybe 90 to 100% of the song done.
Okay.
Somewhere between that range. And then I hash it out with my drummer. We kind of figure out how we want to make things groove and how to vary up the accents I'm fascinated, really quick tangent. I'm fascinated with just like a really compelling riff and how to make it last as long as possible. Because there's some songs like I love, what's his name? Mark, I can never say his name. Kozilek from Sun Kill Moon. Like at Red House Painters, he can write a riff forever. Like he gets one riff and it can be the whole song.
Wow.
And somehow it stays fresh. And I'm really fascinated with chasing those kinds of riffs and figuring out how the rhythm section can make it feel like it's actually changing when it's the same thing. So like
that's
a lot of times,
That's great. I love that concept of like, how do we keep it interesting, evolving, but it's actually the same thing, just kind of evolving. That's cool.
Yeah, and that way the focus isn't even on me. Like I think I wanted to be in a band so badly because I wanted to feel like what it was like to have teamwork with other musicians. And even though I'm writing the songs, like I want the rhythm section, my bass player, my drummer to like come up with their own ways to like make it theirs, like to bring their history and their experience and their musical tastes to the table, because otherwise I just write music with myself, but then who knows, they think of stuff that I don't think of all the time. And I guess we end up just jamming it out, and then we go to the studio and we record what we like established, but then I go in afterwards with like, I just listen to the song. Actually this time we finished recording some of the songs, and then I got to hear the rough mixes. I brought them home for Thanksgiving. I think I was home for Thanksgiving. We record in New York, by the way, and I'm in California, so we kind of like fly back and forth a lot. I brought them home and I listened to them, and I just wrote layers. I even just recorded them into my phone, just like melodic ideas, like little pads, little ambient flares, like and then I went back to the studio and ended up tracking them and figuring out the tones that I wanted just through experimentation. So it's kind of like we, paint a picture together as a band, and then I just go in and fill in spaces that need a little bit of filling in.
A little color here and there to kind of flush them out, right?
Yeah, especially when something drags. Sometimes I'm like, oh, this passage, I'm starting to get bored. So I'll just go introduce a new voice that interacts with the riff in a compelling way, and then that kind of makes that section pass quicker.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, you can hear it in your songs where they have a hypnotic kind of effect where it's going on and on, but then there's an ambient thing that comes in, and then it grows and kind of swells in volume, and it takes you to So I understand. I love that. That's great. It's kind of like, I mean, old school would be like Kashmir is like that, I guess, by Zeppelin, you know, where it's this ever evolving riff that kind of keeps going and going and going. And if it's a good enough riff, because it is a riff, you know, it's like it just goes and goes, and it's just beautiful, you know, where it finally ends up. So cool. There's a bunch of folks here in the chat. We should see if we've got some questions from these folks. I've got so many, but did you name the song Atreyu after the Never Ending Story character or the Screamo Band, says Ethan Rex?
Definitely the Never Ending Story character, because on our last album we had a song called Falcor, named after the big old luck dragon. And then we kind of wanted to do a continuation of that. I was originally going to name the song Bronco because it kind of reminded me of like a kicking bull or something. But then my drummer was like, what if we named it Atreyu? Because it's like it ties it into the last album. So, you know, we try to do a lot of things where maybe our songs are a lot, like there's a lot of variation in our songs, but we try to find ways to like tie it to past themes to make it cohesive.
Cool.
Even if it's just the title.
Right. Odin Stan saying that he first heard of you on Anderton's YouTube channel. I went and did their show too. It's fun going there, right? And
it's so much fun.
Yeah, they're nice. They're nice people. I saw that episode as well. Great.
Yeah, it was a really fun discussion.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing, right? Like all these guitar, how it's changed kind of how you get the word out there about, you know, your band and about you as a player and stuff. And some of these channels, like Anderton's channel, is a real great vehicle for players to get, if you can, you know, get that spot in that segment. That I felt like it exposed me to a whole bunch of different people that hadn't seen me before. And Odin Stan saying that about you. That's where he first heard of it. That's a cool thing.
Thanks for giving me the time of day.
Yeah, and Lee, we appreciate you. It's awesome.
Thank you.
All the folks at Anderton's. Let's see here. Who else we got here in the house? Cleveland here. We got Marty V. And your rig rundown. That's right. SD Design says he loved your video on the rig rundown. I really enjoyed that too. One of the coolest things about it is that with you, I get the sense that you're into gear and pedals and tones and talking about that stuff, but your music and the stuff you come up with is so compelling and powerful. The discussion always seems to segue away from the gear and into the music, which is so cool to me because that's what it's all for, right? It's not.
Yeah.
You know?
I view them because I come from a visual art background. We were kind of talking about my college major. I majored in fine art. So for me, visual art was my first love. And then I discovered, I did music the same time as visual art, but for me, because of my classical background, I always thought music was like a source of stress. So I actually hated it for a long time. I was like, I'm just going to draw pictures. I hate piano. As a kid.
So was that because your parents were kind of like, you got to practice like a certain number of hours a day? And
it was just a lot of pressure because like I had to do competitions and stuff, and I was like, what's the point of winning? Like, this is stupid. Like, I can't believe they're gonna grade me down because I'm not wearing a fancy enough dress. Because some of these competitions ended up feeling more like beauty pageants or something, where you have to present yourself a certain way. It's kind of hoity-toity. I was like, I don't want to do this.
And this is like age what? Like
this is like, I started doing these since I was 4. So I was like a child with no childhood. And then I guess I fell back in love with music when I picked up guitar. Long story short, like I was really sick in the hospital, and guitar ended up just being my salvation. During that time I wrote a lot of music. I started learning some Radiohead for fun, and then I was like, I can write music too. So I guess that's what made me fall back in love with guitar, and now I kind of write for the same reasons. I went on a tangent there and I forgot the original question.
No, it's really good, actually. I mean, it's good for people to know that you have that classical background, which obviously informs a lot of the way that you, like, it's in there no matter what. Even if it was like, I don't like this. This sucks. It's still in there, right? From the time you're 4 years old and playing and stuff. And then later on, you pick up what I always call the rebel instrument, which is the guitar, because there's no right or wrong way to play it. I can remember teaching kids, because I taught a lot of kids when I was in, like, from 16, 17, 18, 19 years old. I was mainly teaching guitar was how I made a living a living. I was still living at home, but even when I moved away to music school and stuff, I was teaching when I came to LA. And parents had come to you and say, well, should I get, my child an acoustic guitar? Like, because that's how you start, right? On acoustic. I would say, what are they into? Are they listening to Metallica? Because then no, like, get them the electric guitar. It doesn't matter. Like,
yeah.
And I always say guitar is the rebel instrument. Like, there's no right or wrong way to play it. You can play it with your fingers with a pick. You can play it.
Yeah.
I saw a video of a guy playing it lying down flat and tapping.
Yeah, I saw the guy from Maps and Atlases does that a lot. That was one of my first introductions into that style of music. I was gonna say what I loved about it was, for me, the classical world was just full of rules, and I played violin in an orchestra too. So I was in 2 orchestras at the time, and it was just like, I'm so bored of being told like how to play this music. I want to interpret it myself, and like I want to have an outlet where I can express myself. And so guitar was that. And I think that was why I was like resistant. I didn't have lessons or anything. Like, I'm self-taught, but I was like, I was like, this is for me. It's important that like I play guitar for myself, and I don't have anyone telling me what to do right now. And I think my interest has always been in songwriting. That was what you were talking about. You're talking about pedals and
how the discussion segued even on the Premier Guitar rig rundown always seemed to segue back into music and tunings and how it informs the songs that you write. And so it was really about music, less about gear, which I love, that because your music's so strong that that's where it goes.
Yeah, I think I remember what I was gonna say now. I was gonna say, I always view like this song as kind of like a black and white drawing. I think I said this on Anderton's as well. And then gear is just a way to enhance that drawing and color in certain sections, like pedals. It's to enhance your overall story or whatever you're trying to paint, whatever mood, whatever place you're trying to take people. Like, that's how I've become like really in love with gear. Because I realized that like sometimes it can even inspire riffs. Like, sometimes I write stuff that's notey when I'm by myself, but then I find that if I plug into like a fuzz pedal, or if I plug into like a nice delay, I end up laying back and letting the gear kind of inform where I place notes, and the gear can actually inspire new melodies that I normally wouldn't write. So it's fascinating.
That's awesome. That's totally my job. Mostly in here is making these videos for different pieces of gear. Something you said on the Premier Guitar interview made me think that it's similar, where you use alternate tunings in that way too. You said as a visual artist, like a standard tuning would be like a white canvas, and then an alternate tuning that's got this beautiful thing is like starting with a wash of color.
Yeah, exactly.
And it lets you go from there.
Yeah, it's a great way to also get yourself out of like playing the same shapes that you're used to. Like, I usually, when I write a riff, I can't play it yet, like, because I'm truly using my ear to find the notes. Like, I hum it and like finding stuff. And it's cool because I'm not letting convenience and what's comfortable dictate what I put out. Like, I'm genuinely just invested in the melody, and my hand is like trying to figure out how the hell can I jump from here to here, and alternate tunings can help with that as well.
Like, you've given yourself this beautiful place to start from. Oh, now I hear something right away. It's funny because Britt was in here a little bit earlier, and she picked up my telly, which is in an alternate tuning, and she was like, "Oh, this is weird." And then she like started moving her fingers around, doing that thing where it's like, "Oh," like, because all the rules go out the window instantly. Any shape that you're, box or whatever, it's like it's all out the window. So it's a great thing, and I find the same thing with gear. There's this great moment in the movie It Might Get Loud, which I love that movie, but with Jimmy Page and Jack White. And have you seen that movie?
I'll add it to my list.
You got to check it out. It's great as a guitar player. But
what is it called again? I'll write it down.
It Might Get Loud.
It Might Get Loud. Okay.
Yeah.
I need to get schooled.
It's 3 guitar players. It's the Edge and Jack White and Jimmy Page. So kind of 3 guitar players from different eras, really, and they get together and they jam in a room, and then there's little individual segments with each of them.
That's
So you've got somebody like it's really terrific. It's a beautiful thing, like seeing them all get together, and they're appreciate both the Edge and Jack White's sort of appreciation for Page, because he's the senior of the group, is really cool to see them kind of fawning over him a little bit is neat. But
I love that.
it's really great. But
Me
one
too.
of the coolest segments is the Edge showing one of his part. I think it's the part from Elevation where he's playing this like wah with fuzz and echo or something, and it's this crazy sound. And then he turns off all the effects, and then he's like, "Here's what I'm actually doing," and it's just like da, 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 da. It's going back and forth. So he goes, he says, technology absolutely is a huge motivator for my, like that I use it to create, because I'll turn on all these sounds and then something comes out that wouldn't otherwise. And in the next scene, they go to Jack White, like right in the very next scene, and he's driving down the road in a car, and he says, "Technology is absolutely the like enemy of creativity." He goes,
That's so funny.
which is art.
That's
It's like he's a guy plays a fuzz into an amp, and that's it. And then the Edge has got all this stuff, and that's his thing. And neither one is right or wrong. It's a beautiful thing.
I do feel like there's two, like people who make electronic music, for instance, like there's some people who literally just program like modular synths to like do stuff and let the technology write the music. It's like a more analytical way of looking at it, which is I think is just as valid as someone who uses technology to enhance what they already write. Like you can start on acoustic and then you can take that melody and like flesh it out with like gear. But I think there's two ways to like approach it. It's just like visual art. There's artists who let robots like kind of just they put in randomizing like algorithms, and then the robots generate the art. And then there's someone who takes a paintbrush and just sits there and paints traditionally.
Right.
And it is like two schools of thought, but there's really cool ways that you can like see eye to eye and unify those two worlds.
Yeah, exactly. And no right or wrongs. It's all art. It's like it's hard when people ask me a question, like, because I get a lot of questions about gear or different things, and people are like, which one's better, like this or this? I'm like, there's for me, I could have a better, but for you it could be different.
Questions like that are so difficult to answer. Like when people hit me up, they're like, what gear should I get to sound good? And I'm just like, well, let's start with, what do you want to sound like what do you like? And I don't know, the best recommendation I can give to anyone is just go out and try as much shit as you can.
Right.
Because you can, if you don't know what you like, you can always use the process of elimination to figure out what you don't like, and then you can arrive at what you like pickups, like
right.
It's that's like my favorite way to figure out what I want to use.
So like you've got let's talk about that for a second. You've got a signature Ibanez guitar, and you moved to that and still use sometimes, I think, the Strandberg guitars, right? So they're very, very different. Tell us a little bit about that. Like the Strandberg guitars, I've only played a little bit with the crazy neck shape and stuff, and it's so different for me. But I'm fascinated by folks that play them, and it's like, this is my thing, But now you've gone to kind of a bit more traditional 6-string Ibanez.
Yeah, I think I started out. First of all, Strandbergs are like incredibly built instruments. Those things hold intonation like no other. I can fly with them, and just they're just like, every time I give it to like a guitar tech to set up, they always comment about how like everything's so even, like well crafted, and they feel great too. They're so comfortable. Like I don't think I could play extended range. Well, I now have an extended range Ibanez, but I don't think it's as comfortable, if I'm to be frank, just because the Endear neck profile, how it's like,
the neck is completely unique, right?
It's like flat on each side, and it's got slight fanning. It's not like True Temperament crazy wigglies, but like it's like very slight, and that was really comfortable for me. So I think I started playing electric, like I got into electric guitar around the same time Strandberg hit me up for endorsement. So I was just very new to the whole endorsement world, and I was like, hell yeah, I'm into it. But then I think through playing Strandbergs, I realized that I kept on picking up my more traditional telly, and I think it's just because I like the weight of it. And I also, the pickups in my Strandberg were humbuckers, and I realized that I always tend to gravitate towards more single coil sound, just for the style that I play, because I feel like I can get more dynamic range out of it.
Cool.
Yeah, so I just, I kept on gravitating towards that. And so when it came time, when Ibanez sent me a couple of guitars, and I just spent a lot of time with everything. I still toured with the Strandbergs, and it's not that I didn't like them. I just found myself picking up the Talmans that I got sent more often to write, and
Hmm.
that was a way that I just discovered that, okay, yeah, I definitely prefer more traditional guitars, because
Hmm.
it's like, the Strandbergs are also missing a headstock,
Right.
um,
How do you
and
feel about that? Like about the effect on tone and stuff? Is there...
I mean, I don't notice. I think the only thing I feel tone wise changes is that, like, my Strandbergs for some reason are really bassy. I don't know why. Like, maybe it's the wood or something, but I
humbuckers
uh
and stuff, I guess.
I feel like I don't hear that much mid presence. Um and for some of the stuff I do, the really intricate stuff, I need it to really cut. Cause
Mhm.
live, like when I'm playing with my bass player, I was using an EQ pedal to like kind of mitigate some of that
Oh,
bassiness. But I don't know. I don't have to use an EQ pedal when I use my Talman with the single coils, the Seymour Duncan 5.2 set. Um,
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, and you use the neck position a lot, so a neck humbucker might get a little too dark and woolly, right, for
yeah,
what
I
you
mean,
do?
I feel like I really didn't know what I like, because truly I got endorsed really early when I didn't understand gear yet, and
Hmm.
like that is me just being very vulnerable right now and just saying like I really don't. I mean, I still probably don't know everything, but like at the time I really truly knew nothing, and I was just like saying yes to people because maybe I wanted to be a people pleaser, and maybe I just like was excited that anyone cared. Yeah. So
Sure.
and then it's like through, I was an EMG artist for a while, and then I realized that I didn't like having such compressed tone. And then
Hmm.
I, went to SIRS, and the SIR pickups were great, but again, didn't do like, I remember picking up the Talman with the Seymour Duncan 5.2 set and just having my aha moment. I was like, yes,
Really?
like this is like, I'm so inspired. Like I was like grinning ear to ear, plugged into my amp just because of how it broke up with the tubes and stuff like that. So I was just like, yeah, like this is what I like. I'm writing so
That's
much
cool,
music.
man. I'm kind of fascinated by those pickups. I have a similar pickup in my Telly actually, where it's the split magnets. Like so, with the 5.2, you got the Alnico 2 single coils for the high strings, and then the Alnico 5s for the two low strings, I think. And that makes a lot of sense because a little bit more stringy clarity on the
Yeah.
low strings with the Alnico 5s, and then the 2s give you a bit warmer sound on the high strings. So,
Yeah,
nice.
and I'm lucky that I just happened to those were the pickups that came stock in the Talman
Hmm.
that Ibanez sent me, and I just happened to really love with them. And then I was playing these Bill Lawrence pickups for a while. So a
Mhm.
fun fact is I didn't have money for an electric guitar when I started out. So I had a drum machine that I traded my friend Ethan in Louisiana for his SX Telly. So we did like a swapperoo, and then that's how I ended up with my first electric. um,
Huh.
but yeah, that was my first telly. It had the Bill Lawrence pickups in it, and I have a pink Talman here where I started playing the Talman more than the SX telly that he gave me, just because the Talman's a nicer instrument. But I
Hmm.
was like, oh, I kind of want to pay tribute to my friends, so I cannibalized the pickups from the SX telly, the Bill Lawrence ones, and I put them in that pink telly Talman. But then later, I talked to Seymour Duncan, and they sent me another Talman where I had the 5.2 telly set as well. And then I realized that I actually much preferred that. Um, the
Cool.
Bill Lawrence ones are a bit quieter. And I think
Okay.
just for the sake of making my live performance easy and make it easy on my sound person, I want pickups that are pretty like even in their output. So
Yeah.
they don't have to do much adjusting at the board.
Got it. Cool. Do you use any compression? I was going to ask you that for
I
your.
do. I use the Earthquaker Warden.
Oh,
It's an optical compressor. I really love it. Actually, on the album, if I can talk about album tones, I
yeah.
think I got a
Please.
lot of tonal variety in my like clean to broken up tone. A lot of it, people are like, "What gain pedal is that?" That's actually just me maxing out the sustain, or not maxing it out, but like upping the sustain knob on the Warden,
Oh, really?
and you can get it to break up, like just because.
Wow. That's
Um,
the overdrive, the kind of main overdrive sound on the
well,
album?
not the main overdrive. I use the electronic audio experiments longsword for like my main gain pedal, but a lot of the clean tones, like, you know, when I dig in, when I do like kind of like a solo-y bit,
Yeah.
to get it to like kind of have that attitude, like to break up a bit, I just push the compressor instead.
Cool.
Um, up the mix and then up the sustain.
Okay, so a lot of compression. That makes a lot of sense. I always say that compression makes clean sounds feel like overdriven sounds.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you get that.
So
Yeah, it's easier to
it's
play.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's like it's an easy way to just get some variety too, like so you're not like just on the same tone the entire time. Even with the tone knob on the Warden, like you can get just kind of a little treblier and then like yeah, it's like on a guitar, you know, like
sure. I haven't tried that particular one. I got to try that out actually. Yeah,
I
that's
really like it. It's on 100% of the time when I play live. Unless all my pedals fail, then I just go direct into the amp.
wow. So that's your always on pedal, a cool compressor. That's neat. Yeah, a lot of great guitar players haven't always like Andy Timmons. He's got the Carl Martin. I think it's never not on. He's always using it. So it's a great thing. I mean, once you get used to it, it's kind of addictive, right? Like the feel of you
Yeah.
turn it off and be like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like my favorite pairing is a chorus pedal with the compressor pedal because it kind of fills it. Like chorus sometimes can sound like I don't know, kind of thin, but I feel like
Mhm.
it adds like a bit of body to it, which
We
is
got to talk
nice.
about that, your modulation stuff. But I wanted to show you this for a second because this is a cool one that this is the Origin Cali 76 stacked. So this is like two 1176 compressors in one pedal
Whoa, never
that you can
heard.
feed into one another. So you can get just mondo tons of compression with this. But
Mondo.
yeah, like so much. But these guys make great pedals. It's awesome, and the it's got like a dry through, so you can still keep the punch and stuff of the dry tone. This I tried the other day for the first time. I was like, oh damn, they make such good compressors. Originally, they made. I got it here somewhere. Yeah, here it is. This is the first one they came out with. Look how big it is, and
Wow.
it's 1176 basically in a pedal. But I love this thing so much that I was almost like I have to put it on my pedal board because even as big as it is, I will find the space and eliminate other things because this thing just sounds like
Wow. Yeah, like you don't need a big board. You just need if you have a you know what's funny is I find myself straying away from buying pedals that kind of like are I don't mean this in a derogatory or mean way, but kind of one trick ponies where it just has like one crazy sound, but that's like all it can really do. Like yeah, just pedals also where it's like there's only one melodic setting and everything else is just like crazy noise. Just
right.
for the stuff I do, I find that it's just like I'd rather have multifunction kind of like pedals where I can approximate other things just because I don't have to bring around like 60 pedals. You
Yeah,
know?
like when you're making your pedal board, you think about that. Like, okay, I need like things that are really versatile and make a lot of sense because I can
Yes.
only have it so big, right?
Yes, like it's like a utilitarian way of thinking about it. And plus with those one trick pony pedals, they're really cool. Like they're so exciting. You're like, whoa, I can make my guitar sound like a honking goose or something like yeah. But then it's like how many times are you gonna want a honking goose sound on your record? Like, you
Right.
know, like it's supposed to be just oh wow, like that section's so weird. It sounds like a goose. And then like the rest you don't want an album of goose sounds. Maybe you do. Maybe that's your concept is goose sounds.
That's your next solo album. Yeah.
Yeah,
Everybody will
you
know what to expect.
know.
Yeah. Wait a second, it's brilliant. Maybe we should have a whole album. I'm confused. I love it. So you were mentioning chorus, like there's some of the coolest modulation sounds on the record. And I read yesterday that I think I know what you're using to use it. I was like, how can I got it back into my Mobius after listening to it and trying some of
Aw.
the lo-fi sounds on the Mobius that do the kind of like almost like warped vinyl.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, but are you using the Zvex? Is that what it is? The lo-fi junkie? Is that what does that for
You
you?
know what? I didn't use it on the record just because I used it on the last record and on my live board. I love the Zvex pedal. It's just for when I play at such a high volume, it's a bit loud. Like it
Okay.
emits like this frequency thing that I just can't get to not be so loud when I'm live. That
Okay.
being said, it's an amazing recording tool for me. Like the Lo-Fi Junkie, I'm obsessed with it. Like you can just even the square wave setting, I find like a really musical way to use it, where it sounds like a shamisen. It's really awesome. But sorry, going back to the album modulation, I use the Walrus Audio Julia and then the Caroline Guitar Somersault lo-fi modulator. Those
Oh
are my
God,
two.
Caroline, I haven't tried that pedal. I love their pedals. It's
Oh,
called the
so
Somersault.
the Somersault. Yeah, I love that pedal company as well. Like Philippe's
Yeah.
a guy. But yeah, I love the Somersault for a lot of the glitchy stuff. There's this thing, there's a switch on it that maxes out. I think it's
Right.
called like the insanity switch or something. It
Right.
maxes out the speed. Just for if you hold it down for a second, you can like get it to sound like glitching. So a lot of the things, it's like really, it sounds like warbly tape, and I'm also like using that and that second switch to just glitch it out to make it like go really fast and like skip.
I
And
gotta
it's
try
really
that.
fun. Yeah, it's awesome. And then I would say that it's like a very, very versatile modulation pedal, because you can get it to sound like a traditional chorus, like kind of like what the JC 120 would sound like. But you can also get it to sound like really dramatic and like seasick, like you're gonna throw up.
I love that though. It's great. Some of the tones on the you'll be playing something super beautiful, but it's like bent because of the slight modulation, or not. Sometimes not so slight modulation. I love that it's slow and it kind of creeps in, and that it's random.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like it's so like, oh God, it's like makes for this really compelling, tone. That's like, without it, I don't know. That's what got me back into using the Mobius.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, because it's got a pretty cool lo-fi thing too, with the filters, and so you can make it sound like, you can make it sound like a completely warped like record coming through an AM radio if you want, or whatever. But
I love that. One of my favorite artists that does tones like that is Boards of Canada. A lot of really cool modulated sounds. Who else? Boards of Canada. There's another one that I'm blanking on. But yeah, that's like what I listen to a lot of. We listen to a lot of 80s Rush.
Yeah. Okay, so I was gonna ask, because it's like a lot of it reminded me of like, if this was like Rush, but they never got older and they were just able to go on for like that's just the music they would be making.
Hell yeah! Woo!
That's what I thought listening to the record yesterday.
We all love Rush, so it's like, I feel like it's funny because my taste is a lot of like indie music, post rock, shoegaze, post metal.
Yeah.
And I do love Rush, and a lot of cheesy like rock bands as well. I kind of like the vibe of that. And then my drummer is like more of like, he loves that 80s Rush as well, and indie music, like Foles, and then he loves jazz. And my bass player is more of like a metal jazz background. So I feel like all of us together, we just create this like weird chimera, musical chimera.
That's perfect. The chemistry. It's all about chemistry. That's awesome. But yeah, I was hearing Preston Smith was going to say Rush is the inspiration. Rush is the granddaddies of all this stuff. And I guess King Crimson. And
yeah, I love King Crimson as well.
So great. All those, and even like are you a fan of that Discipline album, King Crimson, like 1980? I think.
Oh, it's been a while since I've listened to that. I feel like I've been listening to so much new music. I need to like go back to my basics. But
that stuff's great though. It's so good. That Frame by Frame and Mate Kudasai, that song. God,
I'm always fascinated with how an album holds up through time. Like I was listening to Fleetwood Mac with my band on tour after listening to a lot of like modern indie shoegaze stuff, and then we listened to Fleetwood Mac. We're like, this like, it's just like, I can't believe, like, it sounds stupid for us to say, but it's like, I can't believe this was written so long ago. It like really withstood the test of time, and it's like just as compelling, just as interesting today as it was back then. And some of the tones sound actually quite modern, or maybe I should say modern music is trying to emulate that. Whatever it is, it's sick. Fleetwood Mac is sick.
I totally agree. Lindsay is mind-blowing, like underrated, like seriously underrated. But it's weird how he was able to on those records kind of like, until you're listening for it, you don't go like, oh my God, that's mind-blowing guitar. He kind of just wove it into the songs in such a beautiful way that it didn't stick out like, oh, he's a guitar. It's unbelievable, And then when you dig a little deeper, you're like, whoa. He blew my mind. I saw Fleetwood Mac right before he left, and that it got all weird. But like about a year and a half or 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, it was at Dodger Stadium in LA. One of the last shows I think they did with him. But he played a guitar solo that was mind-blowing.
Whoa.
He started with this melodic idea and kind of down lower on the neck, and then he repeated it, and then he changed it up a bit, and then he built it, and then he, and the band was just, it was like a 3-minute thing where he played this guitar solo, building up the neck a little bit more, a little bit, but evolving, but he would repeat things, and it would get, it had that hypnotic thing, where he wasn't just soloing, and he ended up on the top of the neck and some flourish of the high note, whatever. And it was this, yeah. And the band stopped right at the, at the end of the solo on this high note. And this, like a woman, like 3 rows back from me was like, holy shit, like, it's probably not a guitar player, she's just like a move. And I was like, man, he got everybody in this place, like pulled into his, it was like the best moment that I remember out of the entire show.
Wow.
So he's an unbelievable guitar player.
I wish I got to see him. Never have.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I'd seen him more. That was the only time I've ever seen him, was that one gig. It was like,
wow.
I wish I'd, but Lenger1234 is up there in the super duper chat, and he says, really appreciate you doing these, Pete. You're the best. Thank you. I'm a hack, but I do the best.
It's true. You're the best.
Oh, come on now. Adrian below the guitar professor, says Phil Rappaport. David Thorn. Oh, David Thorn's another amazing guitar player. Just looking through the chat here. Well, that's kind of sad. Joe says, anyone catch recent Alex Lifeson article? He says he hasn't played guitar since Neil passed away.
Oh.
Yeah, that's too bad. I hope he picks it up again.
Sometimes it's nice to take a bit of a break. Like, sometimes I come back from touring and I just don't play for a while. But then when I come back, I just have this new appreciation. It feels fresh again.
Absolutely. I completely agree. It's nice to get, like, just put it away for a couple weeks, then come back. Your chops might not be quite there, but the refreshed feeling is totally 300%. It's worth it. Like, that feeling it doesn't matter if, because the chops always seem to come back with just a little bit of work, right?
It's muscle memory. It's like programmed into your cells. So you'll get there again.
Yeah, exactly. Looking through some of the questions here and seeing a couple of people are talking about modelers like the Helix and the GT1000. Do you do any of that stuff? Like, do you use Axe Effects or a Helix or any of that? Or are you mainly?
I don't use an Axe Effects. I got sent a Helix, and I'm supposed to be talking with Yamaha a bit about. I would like someone to run me through all its features, because as a tech philistine, self-proclaimed, I just feel like I just get confused. Okay. But yeah, I do have interest in using it, especially because I was told that you could, like, there's ways you can use it for, like, live streaming, so you can, like, get your output audio to be, like, really clear. So on phone audio. And also, one of my favorite bands in the whole world, 3 Trap Tigers, they're from the UK. The guitarist, I always was like, what crazy synth is he using? Like, that's so wild. Like, I love these tones, they're so cool. And I always thought he was, like, playing synth or, like, programming something, but then it turns out he's just plugged into the Helix and he made his tones on the Helix.
It's got some great synth stuff in it. Like,
it's so cool. Like, after I saw them live, I was like, okay, like, respect. I'm gonna go home and explore my Helix.
They're pretty great. The greatest thing and the easiest thing to get going on it, I always find, is use the computer editor. Like, if you download the computer editor and then just hook it up via USB to the computer, and I always recommend that with the Axe Effects, with the Helix, with anything. It's so much easier to get around and use if you're just using the editor rather than paging through menus on the thing and pushing buttons on the Helix. You can just do it all in the editor, and then it's almost like more like a drag and drop kind of experience.
Oh, so you're saying you can actually open your computer and edit your tones on your computer versus I hate clicking through screens. I think I just get impatient.
Yep. So you'll love the editor. If you get that and plug it in, then you can do everything on the computer, and you never even have to look at the box. Then you just store your sounds.
Wow.
That makes it a lot easier, I find.
Okay. That's good to know.
Nicer experience. Grace Under Pressure, Ethan Ricks says, is his go-to Rush album. That you got to listen to Yvette's new record. Yeah, honestly, that's what I was thinking when I was like, this is like futuristic Rush. Like,
that's like the biggest compliment you can give us. Like, we're all so happy. Fun fact is, we even took a photo like Rush, like we
Really?
copied a Rush photo, but we didn't release it because it was kind of silly. But it's like us in silk kimonos. You know that picture of them, like
Amazing. Yeah.
yeah, we
Yeah.
like kind of, and yeah, we all like my drummer and bass player have like long flowy hair. I have the shittiest hair of the bunch. But yeah, it's like we were all just kind of like holding each other in these silk kimonos, trying to recreate this Rush portrait.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah.
That's perfect. That's perfect. You guys should put it out. Don't be afraid. Release it.
Maybe.
Okay, so I already asked you about the creepy mod sounds, but I was going to ask you. You play on the neck pickup a lot in the neck and middle position, I think, on your Ibanez,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah, but
Yes.
yet when you use drive, you've got an overdrive pedal you mentioned, which I haven't heard of that one, but
Oh,
it's
it's
really
so good. It's got, sorry, really quick. It's
yeah,
got a built-in EQ setting, and I feel like with a lot of overdrive pedals, I lose a lot of like clarity.
right.
It just is like muddy, but I just love what that EQ does to my tone because I can choose like how much, um, I guess bass I wanted it to, so it sounds like really fat, but I can
Cool.
also like pull that down and still have maintain a lot of the clarity when I'm playing. And it's got a
Yeah.
clean boost as well. So if I need like extra, like if I'm playing an overdriven section and I suddenly want it to like be louder or have more presence, I can also use the boost.
Okay. And what pedal was that again?
The electronic audio experiments longsword, it's right behind me, but it's like velcroed
Okay.
the hell down. So
I got to check it out because yeah, that's one thing I noticed about the records is it's like warm, but it's totally clear. Like this, I can hear everything, and I'm like, I know she's on the neck pickup or the neck in the middle, but it's
yeah.
got this clarity to it that just pokes through. Like, and the contrast between that and then the super warm. You a lot of times when you're doing these beautiful, like clean uh things that sound like compression and some modulation, but it's really warm and like it's almost sounds like keyboards in some way because it's like warm with like very little attack, and I love that stuff. Do you ever like roll the tone down on your guitar, or is that all
Yeah,
pedal?
all
You
the
do?
time. Yeah, I actually love rolling the attack down with the ZVEX Lo-Fi Junkie.
Uh,
It just sounds so frail and delicate. Like, I
mm.
don't know how to explain it. Just like I like my favorite setting on that is turning the bass like on my amp I use an AC10. So I roll down the mids and the bass and then I just like have my treble up really high and then I roll the attack down and it's just like really frail and sensitive sounding.
Cool. So that's a the Vox amp you mentioned, AC10. Is that what you use live as well?
I use the AC30 live.
Use a bigger amp, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I need a little more wattage.
Yeah. So I guess that's probably a pretty great amp to use live because you can backline it if you're flying somewhere or something, right? Do you have to use like
Yeah.
rental sometimes? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Although it's a pain in the ass to lug around, I will say that it's quite heavy.
Yeah. Yeah, they're heavy, but they sound like nothing else. They sound great. Do you use the top boost side or the normal channel?
Top boost because I like what it does to my clean tone.
Right. Cool. Cool. So you said you mentioned you record in New York. Is there a studio there you guys like to go to?
We go to Voodoo Studios in Port Jefferson. I like it because it's kind of like a hideaway in the woods. It's not really around distractions. But I
Sounds like
will say,
Rush recording studio.
yeah, yeah, it's funny. I the only downside is that we always, for some reason, booked recording time in winter, and it's like freezing. I don't know.
Oh,
I'm a California girl. I like my sunshine and warmth, and it's like during the winter we're just shivering like.
maybe it helps focus though, because you can't go outside. It's like let's just stay inside and get this track done.
Yeah, yeah, I guess so. It's probably a good thing. I like just being forced to be hyper focused on something and not have like outside things to pull me away from like my mindset, my zone.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's it's a thing about cold climate. I grew up in a really cold climate, and it's kind of like the whole Seattle movement too in the 90s. It was like cold, rainy. It's like a lot of these bands I think just stayed indoors and practiced,
Yeah.
wrote songs and stuff. It's not such a bad thing. But yeah, I'm a wuss now. I can't even handle the cold anymore since living in California so long. A lot of
Yeah.
years.
It's nice to look at.
Yeah. So do you do a lot of home recording as
You
well?
know, during quarantine, that's one of the things I actually started doing. I started learning how to record. I have like a mic setup. Um, and it's been a game changer.
Yeah.
I've been able to do long distance collaborations easier. I used to have to like fly and record in person, but
Right.
I think for the longest time I realized that I'm a perfectionist. Like, I think if I don't understand something or if I don't know how to do it the best way, I'm a bit scared of it because I'm just like, oh, I don't want to like waste time and mess up and have to like redo it and not nail it on the first try. And I realized that that type of thinking was also a product of just me never having time to experiment and to allow myself to mess up because I
Hmm.
think I was on such a fast-paced touring schedule. Like, you're in the studio, you have to finish the record by this time, then you have to do a video by this time, then you have to go on tour. Prior to this quarantine thing, I hadn't been home for more than 2 weeks for like a year. So it's just, I feel like now that all the deadlines are out the window, I'm really allowed time to truly experiment. I've sat here just obsessing over getting the right tone, and I will track a song all the way through, listen back, and I'm like, that's not it.
Hmm.
Trash it, do it again. And it's like, I think that's making me less afraid of recording because I'm realizing, okay, I can do it. I just like need the time to like be able to mess up and not be afraid of not being productive.
Hmm.
Yeah, if that
Cool.
makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's a great thing that's come out of the unfortunate circumstance that we've all been in, where we've all got time to sit and kind of mess like, I know a lot of people have like finished albums and done all kinds of stuff during this time. So
Yeah.
given the time to just, have some the free time to kind of create and stuff. What's your setup there? Do you use like do you mic up your amp and everything and have like a recording interface and
Yeah, I have I'm using the Scarlett Focusrite, and then I have I just downloaded Ableton. I think I might get Logic because it's really difficult to comp in Ableton. That being said, I don't mind punching in. I record by like I get a take and then like I take out the sections I don't like and I just punch them in.
right?
And it's nice. I like having that much control over how like my phrasing feels, like the pacing of it, how like I'm like, oh, I need to get this bend exactly right. So I
Mm.
just spend like an hour just punching in the same bend to get so that's me self-recording. In the studio, it's not like that at all. In
Right,
the
right,
studio,
right.
we just get a bunch of takes and we comp together the best takes.
Okay.
Um, but I really love being super controlling at home and recording this way.
It's
Um,
dangerous, I find. Like
yeah.
I've asked a lot of other guitar players about this. Like a lot of guitar players I really respect, and even some studio legends, folks like Tim Pierce and stuff. Where I'm like, so will you record the solo like 60 times because you can because you're in your home studio, like not something you would do if there's other people around. Will you? And he's like, oh yeah, yeah, I'll do like endless takes. And I've just for me personally, I've kind of gotten because I've done a lot of this recording like by myself,
Hmm.
and that freedom to kind of sit there and do it over and over and over again, I almost felt like it was making me soft in a way. Like the kind of like that when you're in the studio and there's a producer there and an engineer and a second engineer and everybody's waiting and you're like, okay, let's cut that guitar part. And you're like, okay, the 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 pressure, I sort of enjoy it, like on me to get it right within the first few takes.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
not having that, do you know what I mean? Like not having that pressure in the home studio is almost, I find myself like almost like I'm lazy. I'm sitting there and I'm kind of like, and I'm not getting it and I'm doing it over and over and over. And I'm like, dude, like I say to myself sometimes, focus, pretend there's somebody over your shoulder and then focus. And then I get the part.
That's awesome. Yeah, I do find actually I find that as soon as I hit that red record button, I do get like hyper focused because
You
it's
do.
like
Yeah.
even with myself, like and I have this whole policy where it's like okay, so it feels like when I'm punching in repetitively, like it I'm practicing that little micro section. I am
Mhm.
practicing it because I'm punching it over and over again. And I find that when I go back and I hear it, sometimes I'll just end up deleting it, retracking the whole thing again in a couple of takes because I was practicing each section so much. And
Yeah.
sometimes you don't know what you want to do with a part until you hear it recorded.
Mm.
Sometimes you play something and you're like, it's like okay, it's kind of like singing. Guitar is like singing. When you sing, you know how like sometimes just because you hit the right pitch doesn't make it a good vocal performance. Like
Mm.
there's like little nuances in your voice. Like you can add things that actually introduce character into it. And I
Mm.
think that the little bits of character, the little like imperfections are what makes a part really fun and interesting to listen to. And sometimes, you know, I'll play like a solo or like a riff a bunch of times and I'm like, I'm hitting the notes, but it feels like there's no character. Like,
Mm.
and so then, but then I'll play one that's kind of messy and like sloppy, but then it's just like so much characters. I'm like slipping and sliding around. And I
Mm.
listen to that. I'm like, okay, so the goal is to like hit the right notes, but also still have character in it and like have the right dynamics and the
Yeah.
right pacing too. Like, you know, sometimes you purposely, I purposely like sometimes pull back on a part because I wanted to sound like heavier and like sludgier. So I'll like play a little bit slower than like not off the beat, but like just behind the beat a little bit.
Sure,
So
sure, sure.
little nuances like that, I think sometimes I can't tell what I want until I listen to it. And then I'm like, no, I'm gonna do it again.
That's a great way to look at it. Yeah, many times I'll get something done and I'll get it and go, okay, that was pretty good. I think I got one. And then I'll listen back and go, okay, let's just do another one.
Yeah.
And I'll mute that take. And then usually within 3 takes, I get another one I like more. But it might take 50 takes to get to the one where I like, okay, there it is. There's the idea formed. I totally can relate to what you're saying.
It feels like gambling, like a slot machine. It's like I already won, but I could get more. Like, or I could just completely burn out and just lose everything. But it's fine. Like, it's
Right. Well, that's like the old days. You sure you want to go over that take? Because they only had one track, right? So it's like,
oh my God, I can't imagine. Like, whenever I hear old recordings or I know they had to do it like as a band in one take, I'm just like, oh, like that's amazing.
It's true. It was expensive. I mean, recording on tape,
Yeah.
you know, it's $300 a reel or whatever it was, you know, and you could fit 3 takes on a reel, you know, on a of 2-inch. So it was like the tape. I remember going when I got my first record deal and we were like in charge of the budget. So it was like, I went and bought all the tape and it was like, well, we need, you know, 20 reels or whatever. And it was like, wow, that's a lot of like, it was like, you know, $5,000 of tape or something. And so you're like, okay. So it was literally, there was a little, like a number value cost put on the notes you played. But, and then doing a take, the really scary thing was when you would go, all right, this is great from the beginning up till the bridge, and then from the bridge on out, the third take is better. So let's edit. And then the guy would get out the razor blade and slice the, you know, the 2 takes together.
Yeah.
And that process was like scary as hell because it's like, you know, there he is he's going, he's rotating the reels on the machine with the tape, finding the exact spot to cut. There goes
everything. Yeah, it's so scary. And
then they splice them together. And when you listen to like Nirvana, what's the song? Is it Heart-Shaped Box? There's a big edit in the middle. And I always tell people like, what? Because some people were like, hey, that used to cut tape. I go, yeah, go listen to this one Nirvana song. I think is that the song? Wait, I got a real complaint. That song is like, there's a big edit right after the guitar solo. And it's like such a clear tape edit to me.
You can hear it?
You can hear you hear the difference between the 2 takes. So anybody want to listen, go listen to that.
Nirvana. Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
You can hear it.
There's a harp player, Joanna Newsom, who sings and plays like the most intricate folk harp. She records all her stuff to tape, and I'm always so blown away because she's singing and playing these intricate parts. I'm like, that's that respect, because you really have to be good at your part and know, like, have it down pat.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. That's a thing where you had to nail it. There was a beauty to it though, and there was a simplicity to it that was easier, which was like once the mics were up and the tape was rolling, everything just sounded good. You didn't have to. It's like we have to work harder now to make because it's so unforgiving, recording digital and all that. It's like just kind of what comes back is exactly what goes in. Whereas what came back then was like a little warmer and pleasing. It's like, you know, it's already sounded kind of like a mix when you'd go in as a band and let's go in and listen to that take. You go in and listen. It's like, oh God, that sounds good. It's all like glued together, and I don't know.
Yeah, I think pros and cons.
Yeah, the pros and cons. But I love doing the home thing. Couldn't happen without this gear that we have now, and the ability to do all this stuff at home is amazing. So
it's truly awesome. Like, I guess it's a great tool songwriting too, just to be able, because I used to just memorize everything. I used to literally write music and I just memorize it. But now I can like just stash ideas as recordings and I don't have to like remember it. It's also bad because then it takes me longer to like relearn stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Pros and cons. I think it's like boosted my productivity, but maybe it's made me not as good of a player.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I guess we'd never
And
know.
this is just a couple of months of it too. Like who knows, like if I could do this like a couple more years, what it'll do for me. But I don't know. It is nice to be able to do session violin for someone now remotely. I even had a brief stint with voice acting for a cartoon. So
Oh,
it's
really?
like, yeah, there's just like so many little jobs I can do now that I didn't have opportunities for prior because I just didn't have a home recording setup.
Once you get into that, it's like, because the voiceover thing, if you can find an in that world, it's like, I know Greg Bissonette, great drummer, does, he's like Simpsons or something, or he ended up
Whoa,
becoming
that's
huge.
awesome.
Yeah, I think it was like Simpsons or something that he ended up doing. But like once they get you into that world, and it's like, oh, a whole new career.
Yeah, I'm waiting on results. I did a callback. I'm like waiting. I hope.
Oh, I hope you get it. Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be cool.
yeah, that'd be really good. I've wanted to get into the voiceover world for a long time.
Oh, I can hear it. Even audiobooks, like you could read books.
Audiobooks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally a thing. Audiobook readers. That's like a career. It's true.
I got asked to voice over a romantic novel once, and I thought it was really funny. I didn't do it. It ended up not working out, but I'm just thinking like I'm just imagining having to read through volumes and volumes of like erotic romantic novels. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this without laughing.
Keep a straight face, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
incredible.
Enrique put his hands on Pamela's heaving bosom and they rode off into the sunset. Like, like no, I can't do that.
Actually, I want to do it. I want to become, guys. I'm going to give all this up and become a romantic novel voiceover artist.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's enough guitar. Somebody's asking you, Jordan Justin in the chat says you seem like a really disciplined writer. I would agree with that. Do you ever get lost in improvisation, like whether with pedals and sounds or just jamming to a track? Is that something you like to do, just improv? And
I don't really jam to tracks, but I do improv. Every song for me starts off as improv. Like I sit here in a tuning. Like I always tell people, because I used to be scared of improvisation because I'm like, what if I hit the wrong note? And it's like, it's scary when there's like a bunch of people watching you and stuff. But like for me, like I don't know what I'm gonna write. I just sit down and I jam out with myself. And songwriting is like refined improv, where you just make decisions after you've improvised these sections. You like commit to what you've played, and then you refine them. You like explore concepts and like just push them further and see if there's ways you can like, um, decorate the riffs that you've written to sound even cooler and more thought out. I improvise a lot on piano. I used to do this thing where every week I just sit down for 20 or 30 minutes and I just play. I find a key that I'm scared of and I try to like play in that key, even if it sounds like garbage. Like if there's just even like 20 seconds of something usable, I can go and relearn that 20 seconds and then refine it and explore. It's kind of a great exercise to do when you don't feel like writing and you're a bit stuck.
Wow, that's cool.
And even if nothing happens, I look at it this way, like statistically, the more you try, the more you're likely to like get something good, right? So, it's not going to be a victory every time, but
that's a great way to like get out of your comfort zone work in a key that you're unfamiliar with. It's kind of like working in an alternate tuning that you're not familiar with, I guess.
Yeah, I have like so many piano ideas that I have to relearn, but it just ended up me improvising on piano, and I found something that really stuck. I have a whiteboard. This is how I keep track of my life. If you want to see, this for a tour. Oops. Okay, so I have this like whiteboard here where I have all of my things that I have to do for the week.
Brilliant.
So I really enjoy taking these off. And these are like all the collaborations I have to do. So these are like things for other people, gear demos that I have to do. And then this is my whiteboard where I have all the ideas and all like the half written thoughts that I have, and then I kind of organize them into like what project where they belong, like project wise, and
Okay.
what I have to finish. And then actually when I get to a certain stage where I have to finish a song, but I only have certain sections written out, I'll like put the song name down and I'll have post-it notes for each section of the song. Like if it's
Huh.
missing a bridge, like um I'll like if I have like a bridge written or I have a chorus written, I'll have post-it notes there, but then I can see what's missing. And then
Okay.
every day I can organize like what I want to work on in the song. I'm like, okay, it's missing an intro or it's missing an outro. So I
So do you
gotta
like
go.
remove the post-it note once you've like come up with that part or something?
Oh, I added in the post-it note like when
Okay.
I have the part. So it's like I want to fill it in. It's just
I
like,
see.
you know, I'm I need to find ways to stay organized or else I'll never like end up finishing riffs. So it's just a great way for me to incentivize and keep track of what I'm working on, especially when you have like 3 different projects and it's like, oh, like I don't know what I'm working on anymore. So
Yeah, I need to do the board. That's a good thing. I do have one up there, like a dry erase board that's got projects written on it that are like from 4 years ago because I completed them and then I never did it again. But I need to get the post-it note thing is a great simple way that I could just do that right in this spot right here. I can see that and
yeah.
I don't know because I'm always behind. Lately what I've been doing is just putting the stuff on the floor right here that I'm supposed to do like pedal demos and stuff, and it's all just lined up here ready to go. But it's like
Yeah,
when I look at it, you know.
I have so many demos. I feel so bad. I like owe so many gear companies things because they sent me things and then I'm like traveling and I'm not home.
Right,
And
right.
then when I'm finally home now, I'm just like, like that's why my board's so full. I'm like, I owe all these people things. But luckily they've been really patient and cool with me. So thank you.
They take time, and it's a thing to get into. It can take a day. How much time do you spend on them when you do one of those things?
I am again kind of a perfectionist, so I have to like rehearse my talking points. Just because talking like a conversation is easy, but I feel like when the video is rolling and I have to like recite information, like I just for some reason stumble on my words. So
Right.
that part of it is a bit anxiety inducing to me, but I love it. Like it's fun to try to also make the gear review entertaining. So
Well, they're
it's not
great,
just like,
by the way. I mean, I told you that, but before when we were talking, but your gear demos are so awesome.
oh, thanks. I'm trying to explore how I can make them more interesting and fun to people.
Yeah.
Especially because nobody wants to watch someone just like really bored talking about like the settings on the pedal. Like someone wants to see it
Yeah.
actually applied in like a real world
Right.
setting. And also, I feel sometimes it's funny because I look at like a demo for like a really lush delay or like a reverb or something, but it's like always the same pentatonic kind of like blues riff. And I'm like, I would love to hear this. Like, I would love to hear this in the context of like an ambient record or like a shoegaze record, like just
Sure.
not the same, like, so it's fun for me to try to find ways to like showcase it in different contexts.
Yeah.
Instead I have this printout, I have to demo a fuzz in the next 2 days and I'm trying to figure out like how I want to structure this gear review video. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's again really nice to do it myself and not have like a film crew like breathing down my neck like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
better get this like then I have the time to really organize my thoughts. I make like an outline.
Right.
Yeah. Like I treat it like a paper or something, writing a paper.
It's interesting, man. Like everybody's got their own style of doing these things. And do you know Paul Davids, the fellow over in? He's got a great channel. He's in. I'm forgetting if he's in Denmark or if he's in.
Is he? I
It's like
know what you're talking about.
he's a guy with a beard and makes these great guitar videos.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. He has that channel. I'm blanking out
I think it's
on.
just Paul David's guitar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Like,
Because there's another reviewer I like from, I think he's Danish. But
oh,
whenever I watch his reviews, he's like, when he describes the pedals, it sounds like he's gonna cry because he's so excited about it. And that energy is just so contagious. Like I want to buy the pedal at the end because he's
right.
just like listen to how beautiful it's cascading. Like it's just like
Right. Well, and that's the thing is everybody's got their own style. And I was going to say about, and that's I'd like to see him too. Paul's got this thing. He storyboards everything, so his videos are like this beautiful. It's like watching a television show. I mean, they're so well done, but he does them all himself.
wow.
Mine are like this haphazard, like my lighting sucks and my camera, like, but I like it. I like to think it's maybe it's me being lazy, but I like to think it's charming, like the
Yeah.
homebrew
Yeah.
aspect of, you know, yours are like super funny and there's always, and then the playing's brilliant. So it's like this great combination of like a little bit of humor and then like the musical examples are awesome. And so if you guys haven't seen Yvette's demos, get to check those out too.
Thanks.
Another aspect of what you do. Do you put them up mainly like, because I've noticed that you'll do them on IG, or what's your main thing with the demos? Is it YouTube or IG?
So I'm doing stuff for Premier Guitar right now. I don't put the Premier Guitar stuff on my YouTube because it's theirs.
Okay.
But sometimes, like if I'm allowed to, I'll like do, like Andrew Chin's had me do like a lesson and stuff. I'll put those up on IG, and YouTube if I can, just because it's nice to have them multiple platforms.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really depends on what the lesson is being used for.
Okay. Did you because I know you started uploading videos and stuff like 2009 or something. Is that right?
Yeah,
10
like
years
when I
ago?
first started playing guitar.
And do you feel like that was like your, like how people got to know you initially? Was that organic social media thing?
Yeah, I really do feel like I am a product of, well, luck, because I was in the right place at the right time. There's plenty of talented people out there, unfortunately, but it's just such an oversaturated field that I feel like it's really hard for people to get noticed. So I truly, truly got lucky. Um, and I think it's also my persistence because I was uploading videos like weekly.
Hmm.
Um, and I just did it to keep, like, initially to show my friends, like, here's a song I'm working on. Um, I never wanted to be like, like a like an Instagram social media guitarist. I never,
Right.
like, I wanted to play in a band, but I never was like, I want to tour. Like if anything, I was like, I want to work at a job, and then afterwards, if I have the energy, I want to be able to have music as an outlet to like de-stress. But I never imagined it would end up this way.
Right, because you were going to be a teacher, right?
Yeah, I was gonna be teacher. If anything, it happened so organically, and that also gives me comfort because I know that like, um, just me being the way I am, me being myself is sufficient. Is like the authenticity is all I need. I don't need to do anything special or force anything.
Because it
So
happened. It just
yeah,
happened
because it
organically.
happened,
That's
and
incredible. Yeah.
it
What a
helps me
great.
keep. It helps me keep saying it. It helps me continue to love, like genuinely love what I do.
That's a great story. I mean, the
Thanks.
fact that it's like just kind of that organic thing. I feel like it's actually a similar thing maybe from Matteo Sasato from the story that he told.
Oh, he's amazing. I love his playing.
He's really brilliant, and he wasn't going to do it as a career.
Mhm.
I think his dad had talked him into, you should go to school and go to med school or something. And he's like, okay. And then his friend talked him into entering an online guitar
Competition.
maybe, yeah, of some sort. And he's like, oh, he literally said it was like the last ditch thing. He's like, all right, I'll do it. And he sent something in, and out of thousands of guitar players, of course, he won.
Wow.
And it was like, maybe there is something to this,
I
it was
love
completely
that.
organic. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's similar to what your story is really, isn't it? I mean, what was the
Yeah.
moment where you went like, maybe this is the thing and not being a teacher, at least for now?
Well, it was guilt. So I was like, I kept on having to look my students in the eye and be like, I'm not going to be here the next month. You're going to get some stranger. Like, hey, I know we built this relationship, classroom teacher relationship, but like, you're going to get some rando now for the next 2 months as I go and like play guitar for people every night. So yeah, bye. I just felt bad like abandoning these kids that like kind of trusted me. I don't know,
Hmm.
when you teach,
Wow.
it's like it's more than just like telling them how to do something. It's like you get to know the kids and you get to like understand like what's going on in their family. Like I worked with some high schoolers and a lot of them had troubled home lives and I'm like, I can relate to that. So I'm here for you. Like, here, let's like work on art, but you can also tell me what's going on and we can figure out a way for you to like get that stress out through this outlet. Um, but yeah, I just felt bad. And also my boss, I really loved my boss at the time.
Hmm.
And I was like, I'm so sorry that I keep on having to hire like substitutes. Like, I'm just gonna quit because I feel like you guys deserve someone who's just here all the time. You know?
Wow. So now you're all in at that point as a musician. It's like, well, this better work out because I just quit my job, right?
I know, yeah, but you know what? It didn't feel as scary as it should have because I am privileged enough right now to live at home with my parents because of touring. Like, so it's not like I felt like, oh my God, I might not be able to pay rent this month. I moved back home because after college, because just the touring lifestyle made it so that I couldn't pay rent. Like, I didn't want to sublet my place either because I have all this gear around. So,
Sure.
yeah, I think that took a lot of the stress out, and I'm privileged in that way. But, another thing that made me feel like I really should give it a try was uh I always thought like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just playing for fun. Like this is just what I love to do. I don't feel like special or something. But then a lot of companies would actually invest their capital in me and like, fly me out for videos or like give me guitars. And I was just like, okay, like I feel like a complete imposter right now. But if people are actually like investing their time and they believe in me, like maybe I should actually believe in myself and I should like part of why I work so hard to this day is because I feel like I want to get that feeling where I feel like I earn what I have. And I feel
Mhm.
like I'm probably going to end up chasing that feeling forever, but it's a great fire under my ass. I feel like, yeah, I think in the industry, just from what I've observed, to like, it's one thing to like get noticed, but to like maintain your position and to like maintain your momentum, you have to actually keep on working really hard. Otherwise, there's always going to be someone who works harder than you and who's better. And that's great too. It's like inspiring. But,
Yeah.
I feel like I need to just continue trying to be the best version of myself. And that's until I die. This is so cheesy. Like, this is probably like the
No,
cheesy.
man. No, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's great. I mean, it's really, really brilliant and inspiring. Like that's what it takes. And the imposter, I mean, the fact that you said that, some of the most talented people I've ever met in my life have relayed that same sort of thing to me, that they actually felt that way or feel that way at times. And I'm like, really? Like you? I've told the story about Chris Cornell, who told me one time that he likes to set up his own vocal chain, microphone, compression, and everything, and reverb in the studio when he's singing. That he feels like he felt like that if he didn't have a good sound, he could be in the booth and the other guys would be the other side of the glass, the producer, the engineer, and everything. And he's uncomfortable and he's singing and he's not into it, and then like he can see them but he can't hear them because they're on the other side of the glass. So then he'd say like, oh God, I suck, right? And I'm an imposter and it's all falling apart all around me. Like this, everybody thinks I'm this thing, but I'm not. That he would have those feelings, I was like, like, you're one of the greatest rock singers of all time. Like the fact that you could feel that way, like is so human and just made me feel like, I don't know, just it's great for everybody to know that everybody can go through these feelings,
Yeah, it's like it's one thing to be self-critical. I am very self-critical, but I think one thing that I've really come to peace with, especially in this last year, and especially with the release of this album, is I never felt like the best guitarist. Like I get put in all these articles about like shredders and stuff, and I'm like, I really don't feel like I am. Like I know I sit here playing the same riff for 6 hours until I get it perfect. Like I'm not just naturally um gifted in that sense where I'm just virtuosic. Like I don't feel virtuosic, but what I know I can do is I can write the hell out of a song. And that's my
Yeah.
strength. So that's the angle that I'm really wanting to play. It's like I love guitar because it is the vehicle for songwriting for me. It's like that what helped me achieve like all the songs I hear in my head. And technicality is just like something I aspire towards because of course I want to have the um like better abilities. Of course, I want to have like a bigger toolkit of technique to draw from when I'm writing music, but it's not like the end goal for me. And that's really helped me feel better. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
not like a shredder, but like I'll shred in a song because that's what the song needs.
I love this. I mean, it's great. You and I, you just summed up the way that I feel.
Hell
Like
yeah.
I know I can write.
Yeah.
I know I can write, but I don't feel like a virtuoso guitar player. And I play for the song, and then I figure out what to do within the context of the thing I just wrote.
Yeah.
That makes the most musical sense. Yeah, it's great. But I mean, hey, this is all. It's for the music that we play the guitar. The guitar is the vehicle. That's
Yeah. I
something that
serve music. Like I'm here to serve whatever the song needs. That there is something really impressive about like just crazy chops. Like that's insane. But at the end of the day, like I'm gonna go for music that I want to listen to and not look at. Like I want to be able to like put a record on in the car and have like
I
not
want to
even
listen to but not look at.
yeah, like
That's great. That's
like I
brilliant.
think
Yeah.
it's all
Great.
valid. Like I certainly never want to come across like I'm dissing people who've put in hours and hours of work on just getting really
Sure.
fast in an arpeggio. Like that is I can't do that. I can't sweep for shit. But I can write a song. And
But
that's like what I love doing.
it's a different skill. I mean, the
Yeah.
ability to do that stuff is a difference, but it's almost like a sport more at that point.
Yeah.
It's a physical skill, which
And
feels good. I mean, I remember practicing when I was a teenager and going,
yeah.
look at what my hands are doing, like in almost a disassociation with it,
Yeah.
like where
It's
it's like,
like
how is it doing that?
yeah, right? It's like
How is it?
nailing a skateboarding trick. It's like
Right,
that
right.
looked impossible, but I put in the hours and I can now do it. Like I program my body to do this crazy thing. And that's like, I think that's actually pretty like empowering, that feeling.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. Like I've always kind of rather spend my time like writing a song, even though like, even if I suck at guitar, like at the end, like, you know, I feel like I have what I have to show is the song, not like me being able to sweep really fast.
Right. Now, having said this, I went
Yeah.
and checked out the course that you have on Jam Play,
Oh,
and you're absolutely have crazy chops. So
oh,
once I got inside what is some of what you're doing and how, because she's like, okay, now I'm going to do this finger picking exercise at 80 BPM. Now let's up it 20 beats a minute to 100, and I was like, wow, that's a pretty big jump. Okay, I'll see if I can do that. And then
oh man.
okay, let's go to 120. Okay, now let's go to 140, and you're just like with your right hand, right? I'm like, all right, that's going to take.
Thank you, piano.
Is that what it is? Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes
I think
sense.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I feel like being able to separate your right hand and left hand
Hmm.
is a skill in itself. Like I think a lot of people they're like, how do I? It's like doing like this thing, right? Like,
Right. Walking
um,
and chewing gum. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and being able to also, oh my God, like one of the best things that classical training has done for me is ear training, because I don't use theory when I write as well. A lot of people are like, what? Like you write like this weird, like technical, complex compound meter thing, and you don't think about theory.
Let me
Like,
just stop you for a second because I got to ask
mhm.
you. When you say that, you mean it's in an alternate tuning. You follow your ear and go where you're, and then you don't really know the notes because of the alternate tuning. Is that right? Because
Yeah, like okay, I'm a shit jammer. Like full disclosure, if you have me in a big jam, like I'm gonna sound like butt because like I'm in so many different tunings all the time. Like I think the last time I was in standard was for an Olaf Arnolds cover that I did. That I was just like, all right, standard's the way to go here.
Hmm.
But I truly just tuned to it like a random tuning, and then I sing stuff. I'm like da na 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 na, and then I like find the notes that I
Yeah.
use with my voice. And I find that that way I'm writing something that flows. Like I feel like melodies that you can sing back are the ones that stick with you, because like in the music I write, I want it to be catchy and I want it to be like memorable. I think that's my fascination with the riff, the one riff that's going to get stuck in your head that you can hear forever.
Yeah.
I find that a lot of times those riffs come from just being able to sing the melody back to yourself because it's easy to remember. So yeah, I sing all my melodies and I play them out.
Having said this, I mean, you're doing it on a extraordinarily high level where, I mean, there's a lot of odd meter going on. There's sometimes a lot of information coming at you, and yet your songs do have that quality where it's like, I can hear the hook
Aw,
is getting through even all the technique, even though there's a lot of technique going on in the drums and the bass and everything happening, it never overshadows the song. And that's a hard thing to do.
thank you. I think you know what I do is I start simple. Like I'll start with a simple melody, like even 3 notes, like or something like that, and then I will expand on it. I'll find ways to like vary it up and ways to like add like, oh, pull off here, a little tap run right here, and then
Okay.
that's where technique comes into play. I'm just like, all right, I have my skeleton, but it's like
Mm.
how can I put some meat on the skeleton where it'll like feel like substantial and it can like stand on its own as a riff. And so that's where I'm just like all the chops that I learned, I can
Yeah.
now apply that and like expand on the melody. I like to call it decorating riffs. Like
That's
you're
nice.
just decorating little sections.
Well, you're painting a picture, right? And it's like you've
Yeah.
got that now what are we going to do here and here and here and here to kind of flush it out, right? That's cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
In the Premier Guitar interview you did, you mentioned that you'll sometimes do this for 5-6 hours on one part. So is that like you're just getting lost in it? And
yeah, I'll build a riff for that long because it's just like sometimes when you play something, things can evolve the more you play it. Like you repeat something for like a couple hours, it feels like meditative, but then you start to like even improvise while you're doing it because you're getting more comfortable. Like you can't really improvise until you're really comfortable doing something, right? Because like at first I feel like you're focused on just getting the right notes, but then once you like are used to playing it, that's where you're like, all right, over here instead of doing a third, I'm gonna do like, I don't know, like a fifth instead, just to see what that sounds like. Or I'm gonna like instead of sliding here, I'm gonna like tap it, or I'm gonna play like use an octave slide here instead. I don't know, like little things like that. And then at the very end, I've simultaneously written a very complex riff and practiced the shit out of it.
yeah, that's great. Yeah, kill two birds with one stone. That's brilliant. Do you ever feel like you need? We were talking a little bit earlier about cutting a solo, and you need to hear it recorded, and then it's like, okay, what if I add a little bit more here or there, right? And then it becomes the perfect thing. What was I going to say? I had a thought. It was, oh yeah. Do you ever need to step away for a second? Like go, you know what? I'm going to go for dinner and just, I've got this thing recorded, like the basic idea. I'm going to step away for a minute and then come back and listen and see and then do you ever do that? Because
ear fatigue is real. Like you can get really fatigued on a section, and I can even start playing shittily. Like I feel like sometimes in these like crazy 8-hour sessions I do where I'm playing the same thing, there's like a the curve is like, yeah, I'm getting really better. It's like exponential growth, and then I hit like a threshold, and then it's just like, ooh, I can't get better. And then actually I'm experiencing diminishing returns now because I'm fatigued. Like sometimes I'll sit here and I get the same exhaustion I feel when I've like gone running or something. Like I'll just feel like really, really sleepy all of a sudden. And I realize that it's just because I've mentally burnt myself out from just hyper focusing. It's really crazy. Like truly I can play guitar until I'm like tired and need a nap. But definitely. Yeah, I think like stepping away sometimes and coming back to it even the next day, it can do wonders. Like there's times where I'll be doing Instagram, like let's be real, I'm not nailing these videos in 1 or 2 takes. Like some of these videos are like 50 takes. Okay, I'm not a god, I'm a human, a mere mortal, and I make mistakes, and I want perfection because I want it. It's not like I'm not able to play it, but I want to get that one take where I'm like, yeah, mic drop, bam. So like so some days where I'm playing it, I'm not getting it, and I'm like, you know what, like I'm gonna sleep on it, and I'm gonna let my brain encode this overnight, and I'm gonna return it tomorrow, and then the next day, bam, first take.
Right.
And I read somewhere that the best time to practice is actually before you sleep, because you're kind of like you're doing the thing and you're letting your brain, like you're letting that be the last thing you process for the day, and then immediately when you wake up, do it to just keep it fresh in your mind. I read somewhere that that's like really helpful, and that's what I've been doing. It helps a lot.
Maybe I should try that. Play more.
Yeah, I don't know how valid it is. Like I read that as a tip one day for studying, like for a test. Study before you go to bed, and when you wake up, immediately try to refresh your memory and reactivate like those the things that you memorized.
That's good. I should give that a try, actually, because generally speaking, I always, when I'm learning things, I always feel like, well, it's the morning, I'll make a pot of coffee and I'm ready to work and I'm fresh, and then I'll do it, and then I don't play at night. But unless I'm like, sometimes when I'm tracking or I'll do that at night. But maybe I should give that a try when I'm learning things, try and do it at night, see how that plays out.
Like even before you go to bed, like instead of like, I don't know, like watching TV, or I don't know if you watch TV, but like, just go through it once, just play it once. And then I'm just like, okay, like I'm going to go to bed now, and then test myself in the morning.
Yeah, it makes sense because it gets in there, and then your sleep helps it to sink in.
Yeah.
That's cool. Sometimes, it's interesting. Like one thing I find is like, if anybody out there records and you're frustrated with a part, or you don't feel like you have it and you're doing it over and over and over again, sometimes it's good to put it away and then come back to it like after dinner or the next day. And you might listen to it and go, it sounds great. it's fine. Like, I'm totally happy with what I did,
Yeah.
Because I find that you can get so hyper sometimes, like locked into a little phrasing of a note, or it's like you can't see all the other stuff around it, the bass and
Yeah.
the drums and how it's, it's, and then you step away from it for a minute and you come back and you just hear the whole picture and you're like, it's done. It sounds great. Like I'm happy with it, and I find that helps. So sometimes it's like step away to get perspective, be it good or bad perspective, be it like, I want to do it again. I know what to do now, or no, it's fine.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
stuff generally feels better when you're more relaxed. Like I was describing phrasing and like pulling back behind the beat and pushing the beat on purpose, like that tension, that push and pull. You can't focus on that when you're just like really locked in and hyper focused on getting it right. So sometimes like when you're more relaxed, you're more likely to sound musical when you play because you're like focusing on how it feels instead of like, oh my God, like I'm so tense right now and I need to like nail this. So I always prefer like, yeah, there's sometimes where I'll be working on a video all day and I'm like, that's not it. And then I'll do it the next day in the morning and it's all fresh. It just feels better. It feels effortless.
Yeah, you've rehearsed the crap out of it and now you're ready to go. It's in there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I look happier too in my videos. Like you can tell when I've been just like doing something for a really long time because I'm all tired and my hair is like disheveled.
I know. Sometimes I watch what I do and I'm like, God, I totally get it. Yeah. Like you look like you're unhappy or you look like you're exhausted or
You're just like getting through it with like grit teeth.
Somebody's recommending taking more omega-3s in the chat. Take more omega-3s. It will stimulate the synapses and cause the neural pathways to strengthen. I like that idea. Eat more salmon, maybe, unless you're vegan.
I will purchase some omega-3. I have like focus tincture. I don't know if it does anything, but I bought it one day. It was like lion's mane mushroom or something. I don't know if that does anything, but
right. I'm getting sucked in by the Prevagen ads on TV. It's like, do I need to start taking Prevagen?
I've never even heard what that is.
Oh, it's supposed to be for like people getting older, and it's good for your brain, helps your memory and stuff. I don't know if it's BS or not, but it's like a Prevagen, and people are like, I definitely noticed a difference when I started taking Prevagen. It's like,
wow, I need it. I feel like I'm already losing my memory. Sometimes someone will tell me their name and like 2 minutes later, I'm like, what's your name?
I don't know. I'm bad that way.
Yeah.
I've kind of always been that way, but I felt like as you get older, it doesn't get any easier. That's for sure. But it's that movie. What was that movie with? What was the actor? It's called Limitless, where he takes the drug, and then it's supposed to open up 100% of your brain, and all of a sudden you can like learn a foreign language in 3 minutes, and like
wow,
it's kind of a crazy movie.
I would take that drug. I don't really do drugs, but if there's a drug, I could.
There's always a downside though. They show that in the movie.
Oh, okay. I'll have to watch the movie.
That's the dark side of everything has a cause and effect or whatever. Let's see here. Brian is pointing out that Jimmy Page and Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young and Stones use blues open chord tunings to allow experimentation. That's true. I mean, that's the similarity even between you and Keith Richards, I guess, is Keith had the 5-string open tuning, and that informed his, like, oh, wait a minute, I can do this? That's brilliant. And then so many songs were written around.
Yeah. Sometimes if I can't, I feel like I'm writing the same thing all the time. I just change one string and it makes it so that all the shapes I'm locked into and so accustomed to just go out the window and I have to use my ear again.
That's great. Yeah. Anytime I've experimented with alternate tunings, it's been, I remember learning the Rain song, Jimmy Page, and going like, oh my God, like first of all, it all falls under your fingers and you see how it's like, oh, that's how he plays that beautiful open chord. And it sounds like that. Oh, amazing. And then the next thing that happens is you're like, you play something wrong and you're like, but wait a minute, that sounded cool. What if I move my finger? And then you're writing all of a sudden.
Yeah.
You're off and going with
wow.
It's pretty great. I forget sometimes like the power of, just putting a guitar in an alternate tuning. All these things are great. If anybody's like rut busters, it's like, just check out one of Yvette's, like the course that you've got. It's Jam Play, right?
Oh yeah.
And it's all alternate tunings because that's what you do. And it'll really change the way you think about the guitar, I think. It can be a great thing. Well, let's see. We got about an hour and 41 minutes. So I don't want to keep you too long. That's for sure. If
No
you're
worries. I'm having fun. I love talking about music, especially with people who like are just as excited about it. I know it's fun to like just bounce ideas back and forth and also be like, oh, you experienced this too? That's great. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
It's a great thing. This show's been really fun. And I've started having guests, this is my 121st or second, I think, one of these I've done, I think.
Wow.
But for
Well, I'm excited.
115 of them, I never had guests. So it's like,
Wow.
this is a new thing. So it's been a
I
nice.
commend your bravery to command an audience by yourself.
It's funny. The folks that are here, a lot of them in the chat. I mean, same people come back every week, and we have a great little fun community here where it's like, I look forward to it every week, and it's just really fun. And a lot of, it's amazing that I'm like, is anybody going to be there when I go there this week? Because I feel like we've kind of talked about everything, and then it's always new stuff. There's always more. So it keeps, it's, and especially during these times, because it's been a stressful year, everybody knows, and stuff. And it's great to just think about music and guitar for a second. It's okay to take a break from the stress of the world for just a few minutes. So it's been a really good thing. If anybody else has any other questions, put them in the chat there, and we'll probably jet relatively quickly. But Mickey McConnell's asking if you still do lessons. I'm going to guess you're probably too busy, but
What's funny is I thought I'd have more time for lessons. I might do it like depending on, I probably will. Just right now, I have to get a few things done before I open up lessons. I feel bad. I was teaching this girl for a while and songwriting lessons, and then just my schedule got really nuts, and then I had to stop. So I'll let everyone know when lessons open up again, because I do enjoy teaching.
I love it too. It's to be honest, I sort of dread the moment leading up to the lesson, like where I'm like, oh, what am I gonna? I don't know, maybe it's just anxiety or something. And then once I get in it, I enjoy the hell out of it. Like,
oh, me too. I get major anxiety doing like especially not lessons in person, but like Skype lessons, because it feels like, oh, great, now I have to be like locked onto this screen, and there might be latency and everything. But yeah, I don't know. Like it generally feels better once I'm in it.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. Well, that's a good. Where would folks like follow you? Is your Facebook page the best place to keep up with what you're doing, and if you have time to do lessons and stuff?
Facebook, and then I usually post on Instagram the most. I feel like I've been posting on Facebook less, just because I spend less time on Facebook in general. Instagram's nice because it's just like you post a photo, you're out. Like, I don't know, it's just like a very streamlined way of doing things. But I'll usually, if I post on Instagram, it's going to be on Facebook too.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that sounds like we have a lot of similarities. That's exactly the way I feel about the whole thing. Facebook is like the secondary thing to IG, and YouTube is my main thing, really. But
not to mention they keep on changing the layout on Facebook, and I can't find things. Like, I don't know. That's just a little pet peeve I have. I'm just like, I can't figure out how to get to my own page. Like,
it sucks, man. I tried to sign in on Google yesterday to do something, and it's like not a browser I've used before, because I usually use Safari, and it's like, oh, you need to use the code generator. So then I go over to try and find the code generator and it like 15 minutes go by, and I can't even get into my Facebook. And I'm like, no,
it's super annoying. Mark Zuckerberg, if you're watching.
Yeah. And Mr. Robot Man.
Yeah.
Very strange dude. Let's see here. Just looking I'm just quickly scanning the chat here to see if anybody had any more questions and stuff. Alan says you're super charming.
Oh, thanks.
And, thanks for watching, Alan. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, let's see here. Mickey says Eddie Van Halen was always smiling and super happy when playing. That's true. Eddie was always like that grin on his face, wasn't he? He was like. It's like,
I think it like makes me feel like a kid again when I'm playing and I hear a melody that I really like. Like, I just can't help but like light up, because it feels like a child when you discover something really cool.
Yeah.
As you get older, that feeling gets rarer.
That's a good point, man. It keeps you young. Like when it's no different. That's that when you get that spark of a new tune, or you get something on your fingers, you're like, yeah, it feels like when you're 14 did it, right? It's cool.
Yeah. Oh, especially when your tone's on point. It's like sometimes when my tone's on point, I'm just like, I wish someone could hear right now.
So do you ever struggle with that, like live, like when you're going to these different venues, you got to maybe rent a lamp, and is it like some nights are better than others? Do you go through that? Like,
Yeah, it's Russian roulette. I can't wait to get my live sound to be more streamlined, because we do bring out different front of house people, and sometimes we depend on the in-house people who oftentimes don't care. So yeah, I feel like one of the biggest bummers of playing live for me is just on some nights where I'm not feeling my stage sound. It's so hard to pretend like you're actually into it when you sound like ass, like when you're monitoring and it's like super thin, or it's peaking or like blowing out. I'm just like, ugh, like I can't even pretend to feel like I like this right now, because you just lose all your, I call it stage swag. It just like goes away.
Yeah. So what do you do? Do you try and just kind of grin and bear it, or is there?
If I don't like my monitoring, I'll just go to my amp. I'll just stand right by my amp and just be, this, you will not lie to me. This is what I sound like. Yeah.
It's absolutely the thing, right? That's why I love having an amp on stage. Like, please just don't make me go to just in-ears and all that. Did you ever use in-ears? Is that probably not, right?
I have a pair of in-ears. I'm about to go to them because I have to sing live now. So I need to be able to hear what pitch I'm hitting. That being said, I'm going to definitely do 1 ear in, 1 ear out, because I want to be able to hear like the audience too. I heard it's quite sterile sounding.
Yeah, it can be tough.
Right.
I think for singing, you'll love it. And I think for guitar playing, you'll just be like, this sucks. But that's just me. Some people like it, but guitar players seem to have the hardest time with it. Drummers, I think they can still feel their kit because it's loud and it's acoustic and it's right there. Bass players seem okay with it. Keyboard players love it because they're used to hearing like they're, whatever. They've been used to not having an amp. They're used to, that thing. Guitar players, it's like the interaction with the amp and the crowd. Like not being able to hear the crowd is a tough one.
Yeah.
I have a hard time. I've struggled for 20 years with it, and I just came to the conclusion that I just dislike them. But
wow. Okay. Well, I'll report back when touring opens up again and I get to use my in-ears, because I haven't had live experience with them yet.
Don't let me color your, there's a few tricks you can do to like, because the one hard thing is if you're just using one amp, you might want to go to two. Go to stereo, because that helps a lot.
Really?
The mono pinpointed guitar thing is just the most, because when you're hearing your amp on stage, it's a stereo thing. I mean, you've got your amp bouncing around the room and reflecting everywhere and stuff. And then now obviously you put these things in your ears, you close off the crowd. Now your guitar is here, and it's this pinpointed mono thing. That was the hardest. The big reason why I went to a stereo rig was for my own pleasure, and listening on stage. If I got to use in-ears, it's like, I want to hear that.
I was looking for my pair of in-ears. Yeah, I'll have to keep that in mind. I would love to go stereo. I feel like a lot of my effects would sound a lot cooler too. Like,
yeah, it's really nice hearing. It's tough once you go stereo to go back to mono. That's what I find. It's like you hear it and you're like, oh my God, yeah, it's gonna be dangerous for you if you haven't tried it. Because with what you play and ambience and stuff, and especially modulation and stuff, you're like, oh my God, it just went everywhere. It's like this beautiful lush thing. I find it's hard to go back for me to a mono rig, unless I'm playing like dry rock and roll. Then it's okay, But hearing a tone in stereo is so cool. Tomu is asking why you switched from Strandberg to Ibanez. We actually talked about that kind of at the beginning of the chat. You gave a pretty detailed explanation why. So maybe Tofu Mullet. Sorry. Maybe check out the video, the replay of the video, and you'll see like the whole explanation.
Yeah.
The different guitars. Somebody's asking to see your current pedal board, but I bet that's difficult, right, Joe? Or maybe not.
Oh, wait, what am I doing here? Wait, it's like the opposite of what I think it is. Okay. Here, let me unplug.
Thanks for asking, Joe, because I'm interested too.
Can you see it? I can't tell. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Wait, sorry, I'm like trying to this is hilarious.
Oh, use the Mercury 7.
I love the Mercury 7. It's my favorite reverb.
That's I've got a rack version of that, or a 500 series. I love that thing. I want the pedal.
Yeah.
It's inspired by Blade Runner, right? That's what I heard. The soundtrack to Blade Runner.
Yeah. So
Good.
here's this Mercury. This isn't the order it's in, but how come I can't get it to like? I'm just so bad at focusing this. Okay, there we go.
There we go.
So
Carbon copy and...
Mercury 7. This is the lo-fi modulated Caroline guitar. Wash Audio Julia. I use a Mastertron fuzz, but I'm currently playing around with a different germanium fuzz. I'm just trying to decide which one I like better. EQ pedal, one of my favorite underrated pedals. I think everyone who plays clean should get an EQ pedal, like a compressor and an EQ pedal, just for shaping your tone. Bass octave. That's a lot of people are like, "What's your fuzz tone on the album?" I'm like, "Not a fuzz. It's my bass octave and a little bit of drive."
Is that MXR? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Looper. I loop like interludes and stuff, but I also use it to like try audition different tones. So I'll play a riff and I'll run it through really different pedals just to see which one I prefer. I love this. It's the Earthquaker Avalanche run. The swell setting is like such a beautiful delayed attack sounding thing. I guess it's like, yeah, it delays your attack and it's a delay.
Awesome.
Then, Carbon Copy Deluxe. This is the electronic audio experiments. Oh, sorry, I can't get it to like line up.
It's okay.
There we go. Longsword. It has the built-in gain. This is a bright preamp, and I use it to kind of push my cleans a little more and give a little bit of more treble presence. There's a bright and dark setting. It's made by this pedal company called Ground Control. And then finally, it's my compressor right here.
Okay. That's awesome. Thanks for showing us that.
Yeah, no worries. It was easy.
So you don't use a switcher. You got to do a bit of tap dancing on there, right?
Yeah. I mean, I grew up watching bands tap dance, so I think that's always what I felt more comfortable doing as well.
That's cool.
But I mean, I feel like I'm going to get to a point where things are going to get complicated and I can't play DDR on stage anymore. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you can do it, that's brilliant because it gives you the instant access and you're like, I want this right now instead of having to stay within a preset, I guess. Eh?
Yeah. Yeah. I would love that one day.
I've always been a preset. I have the switcher, but I admire people that can do the board and just switch everything on the fly. So that's cool.
Yeah. It's nerve wracking. I have to not only practice the song, but I have to practice coordinating my feet.
Right. Yeah. I'm not that great at it. It's like I got lazy in the 90s or something. And she's like, oh, there's these GCX things where I can push one button and everything changes. I got lazy.
I'm gonna become lazy too. I'll join you.
It's the beauty of it is no two pedal boards are the way that people do this is the same. It's like they're like snowflakes, right? Pedal boards. It's like they're all different. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Well, this has been super fun.
Likewise.
Yeah, I'm so stoked that you came on the show, and everybody check out the new album, new covered album. The link just down in the video description below will take you to Yvette's site, and you'll find links to the record and stuff from there. Or maybe you'll find a direct link I can get maybe to your like Spotify or something. I'll put in the video description so people can check out the new record. It's been great. We got about 472 people online. We had between 400 and 500 the whole time. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you. This is
hang out for a second. I'll say bye. And but you guys, I'll see you next week for Sunday Live. Thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure.